You would start turning it to go up to the spinal channel. Pressure on the lower arm and slowly move this elbow up. As you get to the scapular area, you would turn it and gently move up to the top, monitoring the pressure. That's the one technique. The other one is to use this flat part of the forearm. Here apply exactly the same, leaning on the muscular area on the side of the rib cage, and with a gentle rocking movement, moving right up to the upper arm. I just like to stress the area I'm using. It's this fleshy part of the under forearm, not the bony part. The next section would be to swap the hand over and to put this arm over there and do the same on the lower part, working on the edge of the gluteal muscles. Students, I'd just like to demonstrate that shiatsu or acupressure technique again. On the other side, great care has to be taken when the elbow is used in the grooves. It has to be next to the spine in the spinal channels and not on the spine itself. So here's the move again. The flat of the elbow in there, balancing the one hand and slowly moving up with very gentle pressure. As you get to the scapula, you will turn and go upwards. The secret here is to do this movement exceptionally lightly until you gain confidence and test it on a professional to make sure that you aren't touching the spine. The second aspect of it is to use the fleshy flat part of the elbow. So the first one is here. The next part is this fleshy underbelly. This is the position for the pressure here. This time we keep the elbow in that position and we can actually take it straight down to the arms. Because we're using this fleshy part, if we do go over the scapular area, it doesn't feel uncomfortable. If we had to use the elbow section, it would feel extremely uncomfortable. The next downward section is that one, where we swap elbows and a gentle elbow pressure working down. And remember, it is a rocking movement. Pressure is maintained here and it's transferred to that arm. Then as you move, it's transferred back to the base arm. That is the movement there. It's a gentle rocking movement. At all times, monitor that you are not touching the spinal column. And then you may finish off with a nice stretching movement. And your client is now ready to begin the back section of the massage. Hi students, we are now working on the front of the body, and the client is what is known as in the supine position. On their face is prone, on their back is supine. Just think of the spine and that's supine. Once again, I would like to just confirm that the client is completely comfortable and their back curve, their natural back curve is maintained by inserting pillows. A very important tip here to make sure their neck is comfortable is to take a small hand towel, roll it up in a little section like this, and gently lifting their head, insert it under the cervical vertebra. Make sure they're completely relaxed. I have in the meantime prepared the front of the leg for oiling, and I'm now going to commence my normal effleurage. Here the W movement is the most efficient one to use. So as per my basic techniques, I would effleurage that leg. And a nice sandwich stretching movement, taking care to hook my foot in, stretch it out. I will now begin the foot section again. It's important to note here that depending on the time aspect, a lot of the movements of the foot can be repeated, but just merely depends on the time. Here I'm demonstrating the knuckling movement, a nice foot stretching movement, then lifting the leg up, a nice stretch of the Achilles tendon. I can also apply some deep friction massage. And some deep friction to the back of the heel. I could also strip the lymph area using some of my reflexology creeping movements. Again, my stretching. And an important move here, of course, to do is your foot rotations, which you would all know. Rotating the foot first clockwise and anti-clockwise, and then applying the plantar stretch and the dorsal stretch, which are all part of our basic moves. Plantar stretch, plantar underside of the foot, dorsal top, dorsal flex. I can now commence with the lower leg on the tibial area, and gently applying my hand, positioning my hand underneath the knee. I'm going to lift up and do some rolling of the calf. There are not a lot of movements to do in this area of the leg, as you all know, but essentially in the case of an athlete, you would be taking care of shin splints, which requires a draining, stretching type movement as indicated by what I'm doing here. And you could apply that to the other side as well. And finishing off with a nice calf rolling movement. Support the hand underneath and gently straighten the feet. I'm now going to commence some effleurage, petrissage movement on the knee area. And I'm now ready to commence my upper thigh or quadricep area. This is where I can apply deeper pressure using my alternate V strokes. And a very important area to work on here for athletes is the ischial-tibial band, ITB area, which runs along the side here. Here I can apply some deep friction techniques. My position here would be surface stance. Working in some deep friction movements, up and down. And of course, draining in between in a nice strong effleurage. A useful movement here, students, is to lift the leg up like that, support it, and bend the leg inwards, taking care that the model is correctly draped. And I'm going to do some deep stripping movements on this channel that runs on the inside of the leg here, which forms part of the meridian system. And here I can demonstrate once again my flat-handed phalanges movement, which is a useful draining movement to do. Take care that you support the leg, stretch it out, perform your normal petrissage techniques, your picking up and grasping, and some very light hacking on a toned athlete can be also very useful for breaking up tension areas. Okay, students, we're now approaching the end of the front of leg massage, and I'm now going to demonstrate a nice hip rotation stretch that you can use in the clinical massage procedure. You support the leg, raise it up, and gently do a turning movement. Ensure that the draping is correct and your model is properly covered. And we're now going to do what's almost like a spoon movement, as indicated here, using the body weight. Get used to the movement first, and once you are confident, you can take into a bigger stretch. And eventually you can apply pressure in this position as indicated here. I'll just repeat that. It's a gentle stretching movement, rotating outwards and inwards. And as you complete the movement, apply pressure up to there. Supporting the back of the leg, stretching it out. Very important to ascertain the flexibility of the client. If they're an athlete, there shouldn't be a problem, but anybody with a sore hip or that is not flexible, do not attempt this movement. It is, however, very good for people in loosening up the hip area. Okay, students, I'm now going to repeat the abdominal massage, which is covered quite adequately under basic. The reason I'm repeating it is in the clinical massage context, you will find a lot of people with abdominal problems, large colon block, large intestine problems. So I just want to demonstrate our normal technique. Again, the colon has to be massaged in the clockwise direction. That is because we have the ascending colon that goes up the right hand side. It transverses just below the rib cage, and it goes down in the descending colon and exits via the rectum area. So the first thing to do is, of course, do a nice effleurage with your normal crossover movements, and then you can apply your circular motion. Left hand circles and right hand follows in a clockwise direction. You can also use reinforced hand technique. Very important to monitor your pressure in this case. And we can do kneading. Here is a technique to stimulate the peristalsis, natural colon movement. It's a knuckling movement where the knuckles are moved along like a little caterpillar. You start at the beginning of the large intestine, you move up very, very slowly, taking it across, and you go into the descending colon at the exit point, and you just hold the pressure. So just to show you the movement again, that is the movement there. It has to be done exceptionally slowly. I'm speeding it up slightly for the sake of the camera, but this is about the speed of the movement. Now your client will often thank you afterwards where their tummy would have worked as a result of this movement. Again, not as fast as I'm doing, slow the movement down considerably. Okay, students, we're now going to do the arm massage as per usual. I'll shake hands with the client, I apply my oil to the other hand, and a nice effleurage over the arm. The difference in the clinical massage here is I would apply very, very deep stripping movements in this channel in the forearm, and I would apply circular friction around the elbow area for tennis elbow, or epicondylitis as it's called. Very, very strong movements, stripping of the front of the forearm, which drains a lot of the pressure in that area, especially for sports people. I would turn the arm over, and using the flat part of the thumb, I would strip on the inside of the forearm as well. And working on the upper arm, I would support the arm, place it in my hip, the crook of my hip, and I would work on the upper trapezius area, upper tricep area of the arm. Getting some nice deep kneading in there. Change positions, work more on the bicep. The bicep is that area, and the tricep, of course, is on the outside. And I could finish off with a nice stretching movement, taking care to support at the elbow. Take the arm overhead and apply a gentle stretch movement. And I'll now demonstrate a loosening technique for the arm. Support it at the top of the shoulder and just merely give it a nice gentle rocking backwards and forwards. Take it once again into a nice stretch, and then you can continue with your hand massage. As per your normal deep friction, stretching on the top. Taking care with older people not to work too vigorously. A nice stretching between the fingers. Finish off with some stretches. Press the arm down to indicate you're at the end of your massage for the arm. Okay, students, I'm now going to demonstrate the upper neck and shoulder area with some stretches.
Sorry, let's take it again.
Students, I'm now going to finish off the massage with the neck massage in the shoulder area. I'm now going to take away my little support cushion. So I gently lift the client's head and I take away my rolled up towel. I prefer to work in this position, students, but you may also raise the plinth up, as you know, with your facial move. You can also work like that. I personally like to work on the one knee. I find that it's easier for me. So I'm now going to do some effleurage movements just to warm up this area. Remember, again, in the clinical aspect you would go very deeply into these big muscles called the trapezius.